How's it going? Deity Stealth here, and I come to bring you a story of something that happened to me while you guys can watch some Modern Warfare Gungame, its version of Gungame. So the other day I was starting to go to a movie. I was getting ready. It's like 10 at night. I go out to my car, get in my car, or I open the car door and I see my neighbors. They're running across the street. And well, first of all, before this, I have had two interactions with these people before. And one was to push their car into the garage because it was cold and it wouldn't start and they think it would heat it up. And then the second was they wanted to borrow eggs to make me cookies, which they never gave me. So they're lying sacks of shit. So anyways, so I'm getting in my car and they're running across the street, and just as I'm about to close the door, she's like, hey, wait. And I'm like, alright, let's see what the fuck she wants. So she runs over to me and she's like, I may look like a crazy woman, I have a couple of knives in my hand. I'm like, that's awesome, stay the fuck away from me. So she walks up and she's like, I need a favor. I'm like, what do you want? So she's like, I heard me and my son, I'm not sure of his name, me and my son were in our house and we heard our basement door shut and we're the only ones home. Could you come over and check it out and make sure that there's no one down there? I'm like, oh, okay, sure. So we're walking into their house. And so she has one big ass knife and the kid's got like two smaller kitchen knives. And so he's like, you want a knife? And I'm like, no thanks kid, I'm good, you hold on to those. So we go in and we go downstairs and she slowly edges she's like creeping the basement door open, and then she like sticks the knife in. She turns on the light switch with the knife, and then she like swings the door open like there's someone there and they're gonna get freaked out by her opening the door really fast. So she goes in, and there's no one there. We each like look around, and she walks further into the room, and she like looks around the corner, and she's she looks around the corner. She goes, oh my god! And then her hand, she covers her hand with her mouth, and I'm like, oh shit! I'm gonna turn this corner, and I'm gonna see like a sacrificed pig or some dead bodies or some satanic shit turn around this corner. So I walk over and I look over the corner, and there's nothing there. It's just a door. And then I look at her like, what the fuck did you just freak out over? And so she's all like, that door's never been shut before. I'm like, wow, lady, that is not a proper reaction for a door being shut. You need to just be like, that door's never been shut before. Not like, oh my god, there's a dead body hanging right there. You need to dull it down a little bit. So I go over and I try to turn the knob, and it feels to me like there's someone on the other side holding it shut. So I immediately step the fuck away from the door, because I have seen a lot of movies and I'm not going to be someone who is standing behind a wooden door and gets shot by a robber through the door, because that shit happens in movies and that shit's not happening to me. So I immediately stepped away from the door and I looked at her and she's like, oh my god, is it locked? I'm like, yeah, it feels like it. I didn't want to tell her that it felt like there was someone holding on it, because that might freak her out. But I don't know. I don't know what their locks are like or any of that shit, so I didn't say anything. So she's like looking at me and she's like, I didn't even know there was a lock on that door. And I'm like, okay. So I tried again. Maybe it was just my weak hands, which I'm pretty strong, so you know. I tried, and I really tried. So if there was someone holding it, like they couldn't do it. There was no way. I had both hands and I was spinning it, and so that wouldn't open. And so she's like sticking the knife in the screws, like maybe I could just get it off. And I'm like, lady, you need a screwdriver for that. You can't just like stab a doorknob with a knife and then expect it to open. That's not how shit works. And so she looks at me with a completely serious face, like, do you know how to open doors with a credit card? And I'm like, that's not how shit works, alright? You need to fucking get your priorities straight, and no, it doesn't work like that, lady. And so, meanwhile, during this, since we figured out that room was empty and we're just like debating over the door, she's yelling at her son, like, why do you have those knives? You need to put those knives away. And he just like kept leaving and coming back like he was gonna go put them away, but he still had them. So like every 5 seconds she like turned to him like, I can't believe you still have those knives. And she was just like fucking screaming at him like, you're probably the one that gave him the knives, lady. It's your fucking fault that he has the knives. And so we're sitting there and she's just like, what do you think I should do? I'm like, I don't know what you should do. And so she asked me Do you think I should break it down? So I'm like, what? This is, let me get this straight, lady. You're asking me for permission for you to break your door down. That is what you're asking me right now. And so I was like, I don't know, it's your house. You if you want. And so she decided against that somehow. I don't know why, but she did. And so we go upstairs while we're trying to decide what to do, and I'm all like, blah blah blah, what do you think's down there, blah blah blah. She's like, the dog's not freaking out. I think maybe the windows did it, or the wind did it, because the windows were open in both the rooms that the door's shut. And then she's going into this long story about how plumbers were there earlier today. So she thinks like I don't know, maybe they snuck in and they wanted to get their work done without anybody knowing. So they slammed the doors and locked themselves in there so they wouldn't be disturbed, some shit like that. And so we go upstairs, and she just keeps asking me, what do you think I should do? What do you think I should do? I'm like, I don't know, just call the cops. They're not going to do anything. And she's like, you really think I should? Do you really think I should call the cops? And I'm like, I really don't know. I kind of want to go to my movie, and the cops would get me out of this. So, sure, call the cops. And so her son and I are trying to convince her to call the cops. And her son's like, why don't you just call the cops? They want us to be safe. It's not wasting their time. They just want us to be safe. Blah, 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 blah. And so she's like, yeah, I know it's not wasting their time and blah, blah, blah. But this house is a mess, and I don't want them in here. Like, why? What is with parents, or mothers, really, that makes them think that people give a shit that their house is dirty? Everyone's house is fucking dirty. You need to get the fuck over it. You could have a murder in your fucking basement, and you don't want the police coming over and tripping over some goddamn laundry. So she calls someone. I'm not sure who she calls. Maybe it was her boyfriend or whoever the fuck it was. But she calls someone, and she's trying to explain to him what's going on. And at one point, I didn't hear what he was saying, but at one point he was like, I guess he said, what do you want me to do about it? And so she's like, I don't know what I want you to do about it. I'm just calling to tell you what's happening. So his masterful advice was dial 911, break down the door, and if there's a reason to dial the second one, do it. So she's like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to call the cops, so let's just go to someone else's house until we can figure out what to do. So they're going, and we go and try and open it one more time. That doesn't work, so they're, I'm gonna say his name is Corey, the son. I'm gonna go with Corey. So he goes down, or they both go upstairs, and they're like, just get your jacket, get your shit. We'll go over to someone else's house, and then we'll just hang out there. So they had Del Taco, so they were trying to find their Del Taco, and as we're going upstairs, there was like something attached onto my leg, so I'm like, this is it. He was hiding in the laundry, just like the bitch was afraid of, and he's grabbing onto me, and he's gonna pull me down, and he's gonna like eat me. But I looked down, and it was some yarn, and I was like, that's a good thing I didn't scream out like, get out of the house, bitch, go, leave me, because that would have been really embarrassing. So it was fucking yarn, and it was like the world's longest piece of yarn. I don't know why there's just yarn on the fucking floor, and they're just like leaving it there. Like, I don't even know. So she's yelling, and she gets pissed because she cannot find her Del Taco burrito. There may be a murderer in the basement, and she will not leave the house without her burrito. So she's like going up and down the stairs, looking in the kitchen. She's like, I don't know where my burrito's. Blah 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 blah. Burrito, yum 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 yum. So she's fucking, and then she's like, oh, my dog ate it. That's where it is. And so we look on the floor, and there's a little burrito wrapper, and she's like, come on, let's go. And then her son, I don't know, he's like looking for shoes or something. And so she's like, you need to hurry up. Let's go. Adam is protecting us. We need to go now. So that made me feel like a big man, you know, protecting the neighbors from murderers and demon yarn and fucking dogs eating burritos and shit. So, and then we leave, or I leave, and then I go to my movie, and to top them all off, my manly feelings, the girl I was going with, she could not open her Mountain Dew bottle, and so I had to perform the manly task of opening that for her, because her little girly hands could not do it. So then I came home, and I assumed everything was alright. I didn't fucking ask. because I didn't want to go over there. But I came home. The lights, there was like one light on in the house. The car was there. They came back, and then there was an additional car out front. So I'm like, they got someone's in there checking shit out and staying with them, making sure they're good. So I'm like, that's good. And of course, naturally, there was like fucking thefts, I don't know, petty thefts, or I don't know what the fuck you call it, in this area. So I'm like, there might have actually been someone in there, and then they left when they left. So I'm like, I'm a little on edge. I'm like, it's just after you come home alone from watching a scary movie, you think there's everyone in the dark spots everywhere. So I'm like, I'm coming in my house, I'm like turning on every light, I'm like, nothing's popping out at me, I'll fuck you up. And so I go, and the stupidest thing, I'm sitting there, I'm going to reach for a light, and first of all, there was no lights on, so there was no like movement in our house, so I didn't know what the fuck was going on. And so there was a moth below a light switch. So I'm like, oh shit, that's a bullet hole. That some shit went down in here, and this is not good. So a fucking moth scared the shit out of me. Thought it was a bullet hole. It was bullshit. All those manly feelings destroyed by a fucking moth. God, I don't even want to fucking talk anymore.